Hi, this is going to be a really fun video. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. It's called the Star Advisor Playbook. This video is going to be, in essence, a focusing exercise. If you are a financial advisor of any flavor, you could be offering financial planning or investment management or tax services or estate planning services, any field of finance. I'm going to be talking about focus, how to harness your focused attention on three business metrics. And by focusing on these three metrics, you can transform your business. The question is, do you think your business needs transforming? Here are some things you might want to know. So consider this your Star Advisor playbook. I'm going to define what a star advisor is in a minute, but I've got to go through a lot of content in this video. Now, this is going to be a 4-part series. This first video is to lay the groundwork, show you the three metrics, and explain what's possible for an advisor that focuses on these three things. So this video is going to be high level. The next three videos, I'm going to do a video on each of the three metrics. They're that important, so let's go through it. Your advisor playbook is starting off just showing you how I transformed my business. I want you to get a sense of the before and after with my story, how I transformed my business entirely. So we'll take one step at a time, but I want to go through my story first. Just so you know, I got in the business in 1981. I built my business up to a very impressive size. I was number one nationwide. I had 1,242 clients, but I had one big problem. I had 1,242 clients. I actually got into the business not only to make money, but I wanted to make an impact on my clients' lives. I woke up one day after being in the business for almost 2 decades and decided I've got too many clients. I'm spread too thin and I'm miserable. I worked 80 to 90-hour weeks, and we just had a little girl. She was 4 or 5 years old at this time. So I made a decision to completely overhaul my business. I didn't want to work all those hours. I thought I'd miss out on her childhood and everything. So I moved from 1,242 clients down to 17. I hand selected the 17, what I called ideal clients. I basically started over. From day one, as I started working out this methodology, and it took me a while to figure out the metrics to focus on, I decided I'm going to figure this out working just 3 days a week. Literally overnight, from one Friday to the next Monday, I changed my time schedule completely. Now, why am I telling you this? It's to give you the vision. You can actually transform your business, elevate everything, and invest less time. I did this myself. I invented all of this and I put it in place. I accomplished everything I'm going to walk through with you, working 3 days a week. Here's how I transformed my broken business model to a completely transformed new business in less than 3 years. I transformed into a business that delivered a level of service that wasn't available anywhere at any price in my market. So I set about studying this. I spent 2 years researching what clients want from a relationship like this. So rather than me defining how do I make a difference in clients' lives, I took the easy route. I just asked them. I spent 2 years running focus groups with existing clients. I acquired research. I did a totally deep dive into what clients themselves, with their own words, say that they want from this relationship. And in the end, I was delivering a level of service that was not available anywhere. I put in place a system to deliver this high level of service in a way that two things happened. Word got around. I started getting accelerated levels of client referrals, and my reputation in the community began growing quite virally. Word got around among potential ideal clients what I was doing. So bottom line, in 34 months, less than 3 years, from month after month, year after year for less than 3 years, my average new ideal client acquisition was 2.44 new ideal clients per month. Just to talk numbers, after I streamlined and started over with these 17 clients, I moved my revenue from $342,000 per year from these 17 clients by growing 2.44 ideal clients per month on average. I moved up to 1.6 million in 34 months. Now, I'm not saying you'll do precisely what I did. Depending on the type of transformation that you need and want to take, I'm going to be making a pitch for you to more closely align your services with what clients expect. For whatever reason, ideal clients do not share what they want precisely. I've come to believe they don't know how to explain what they're thinking as far as what they expect to their advisor, and advisors don't ask. I've done a study on this years ago, but less than 5% of advisors even ask their clients what it would take to exceed their expectations. But in this 34 months, at the same time I was developing and implementing this methodology, I was also building a small but very skilled team of subject matter experts that I was slowly but surely offloading all the client service onto during this 34 months, to the point where at the end, less than 3 years, I was delivering this level of service and delegating 100% of the client service to my team. At the end of the day, this is a focusing exercise. The reason I mention this is I've been mentoring high-end financial advisors since 2002. After I built this model, I was pushed out on stage at conferences, top producer meetings. I've done a lot of speaking to the industry, and I've had a lot of advisors reach out to me. Number one firms and top producers over the years have asked me to mentor them to implement this model. And the one thing I realized is that most financial advisors like me are a little bit ADD. It's easy to get distracted. And what I want you to think about is to make this transformation, to actually perfectly align what you're doing with what clients want, it's going to require a level of focus. Not forever, but it's going to require a focus of 90 days. I've learned over the years, not many financial advisors can stay disciplined enough to focus on an improvement in their business for 90 days straight. But if you can, these are the 3 metrics. Metric number 1, client satisfaction, shows up in one key metric that you track, and it's an objective metric. So we'll go through that. Metric number 2 is business growth. It's the pace of growth. And I'm not just talking about bottom line business revenue or GDC, but I'm talking about something a little more specific. When I say business growth, I'm talking about new revenue. So the metric to focus on is new revenue coming into the firm. So this second metric has to do with consistently delivering monthly new revenue over time. And third is sustainability. So we will go through sustainability. But the thing that overarches this whole thing, you can focus on these 3 metrics, but if you don't shift your thinking from whatever it is now to a complete and total client focus, none of this is going to work. Stop looking at everything from an industry perspective. Stop looking at it as a financial advisor. And you're going to need to shift and start looking at every single thing in your business from a client-focused perspective. You need to ask yourself, on everything that you do that touches a client, how does the client perceive this? This is very difficult for some advisors because we tend to have limiting beliefs around what's possible. Clients want the moon and the stars, and they want absolute perfection when it comes to client service. We're only human, and we're a business. We can only afford to do so much for each client. I understand all that. Nevertheless, if you can't slip into the client's shoes and view everything from a client perspective, none of this will work. But if you can, viewing and measuring these 3 metrics for a focused period of time, 90 days, just to make the transformation, then your business is going to be different and better after that 90-day period. You'll be in the top 10% of financial advisors nationwide. Let me start with point number 1, the problem. I've talked about it in many videos. I've mentioned it today. I've done data on this, what clients are thinking about financial advisors. Just so happens, in the last 60 days, some brand new research data has been released by a good friend of mine, Bill Backrack, who spent a year studying multimillionaires. It more or less updated my data, but it confirms everything that we're saying is true. The reason I'm spending so much time on it is because most financial advisors dismiss this data that ideal clients have never been more unhappy than they are right now. What ideal clients want from advisors is not just a little bit disconnected from what financial advisors are delivering. No, for most clients, what the advisor is delivering is completely and totally disconnected from what the client values most. And despite that, most financial advisors don't believe it. The data confirms, and it has consistently over the last 25 years, that clients demand forward planning that's more comprehensive than they're currently getting right now, more thorough with more attention to detail than they're currently getting. Most advisors think, my clients are happy, my clients love me, my clients are not firing me. Nevertheless, now more than ever, clients expect advisors to be even more responsive to them, like how fast do you get back with them? And how proactive are you? Meaning, how far ahead of problems are you in your planning, as opposed to being reactive and updating strategies after the fact. One more thing that the data has shown consistently over the past quarter century is clients do wonder what happens to them if something happens to you. They've got everything set up, and it may not be as impressive as they had hoped, but they like their advisor, they trust their advisor, and they do wonder, what if something happened to my advisor? They're unclear what would happen in that situation is troubling to them. So there's the data. The second point I want to make is, from the ideal client perspective, when you focus just on the multimillionaires being served by top firms, I'm talking about the elite firms, the odds that an advisor is actually impressing the client, delivering a level of service that is perfectly aligned with what they expected, is statistically 0. So not to worry, because we've mapped all this out. We know what they expect, and you can fix this in 90 days. You can align what you're doing with what they want. Now, again, this is from the perspective of the client. So I'm not even saying this is true. I'm saying this is what clients feel about their advisor. They think that the reason they're not impressed is because their advisor doesn't care enough to answer all the questions that they've got up in their head about their financial situation. We've uncovered 62 questions that the average affluent ideal client wants answered by the strategies and the plan that you create for them. And many, if not all, of these questions remain unanswered, and they just think you don't care enough to provide those answers. Only 8% of multimillionaires report that they've ever been given anything in a documented form that could be described as a comprehensive strategic plan. Only 8%. And those who have seen something like this, they say that it looks more like a sales brochure to sell other services at the firm. In other words, it's not really what they were expecting. It's not a playbook or a blueprint explaining how we're going to get everything done in the future. No, it's graphs, pie charts, and tables, and capital projections, and things that at the end of the day, and this may not be true, but they think that this whole document is really designed as a sales pitch to sell like assets under management services or something like that. Again, this is just the client's perspective. what was troubling to me when asked about what is your financial advisor's business model, this was the most common response, that the business model is to charge me 1% and then do as little as possible. Again, just the client's perspective. Now, if you have any clients that think this way, if the perception is wrong and there's a lot of value happening behind the scenes, how about fixing that misconception? When you start looking at the data as to what they wish their advisor would do but isn't doing, in other words, here's what I thought they were going to be doing, it's I wish I had an advisor that was more comprehensive, coordinating my financial products and financial team, talking to my accountant, talking to my estate planning attorney, getting everybody coordinated. And the other thing that comes up is they wish that their advisor paid closer attention to their situation and was more proactive rather than reactive. So there's the wish list right there. There's the model that lays out for you what clients want. Now, let me translate this for you, because when you look in the data and you're trying to figure out what to fix, because all of this is fixable, here's the translation. I'm not impressed by my financial advisor because my advisor doesn't care enough to answer the questions that I care most about. The financial plan that I have been shown, it's just a sales brochure for selling services that the firm offers. The business model is charge 1%, do as little as possible, and clients feel advisors are not as comprehensive as they need to be. They're not coordinating everything that they could and should be coordinating, and they're not paying attention, and they're not proactive. Get the picture? So why care? If you have clients and they're not firing you, but according to the data, secretly behind the scenes, in the deep recesses of their mind, they think this, why does it matter? Because the most stunning piece of data that came out of this updated research that Bill Bachrach just released is, of the multimillionaires, 51%, over half of these multimillionaires said that they would fire their advisor and hire another one if they could find a better advisor. That's pretty shocking, and that should concern you. It's not that their clients are going to leave you, it's that if they stumble across another advisor who even sounds like they can fix these things that they wish they had, your business is vulnerable. And we're at an inflection point right now where AI is advancing so quickly, there is a likelihood that clients could get it into their head that they can get AI to do much of this. You could be put out of a job over the next 5 years because of AI. So what am I looking for in an advisor? What does it take to fix all this? I look for 3 qualities in an advisor. I look for head smarts, I look for hunger, I look for humility. What I mean when I say smart is it has to be an advisor who's smart enough to read the room and smart enough to read the situation. When I say read the room, I'm talking about looking at the clients and the situation at the firm and thinking to yourself, if we were as good as we think we are, and if we were as good as we say we are, then we'd be growing faster than we are. Now that's smart. It's to be able to read through the fog and look for the signal. Most advisors think the quality of their service is extraordinary. Clients do not agree. And a smart advisor is smart enough to recognize that if they were the best, then they'd be growing faster. Read the situation means realizing that artificial intelligence is changing everything, especially people that work behind a desk. AI is taking over many tasks in the services sector, and especially financial services. Financial services are heading towards some form of a creative destruction over the next 5 years. Whether or not AI can do a better job is not the issue on the table here. The fact that clients are harnessing AI and understanding it more and more every month, every year, they're going to start thinking they can replace you. But your business is still at risk because of AI A smart advisor recognizes that. Hunger, what am I talking about there? When I say hunger, it's got to be an advisor who's hungry to be number one, hungry to be the best in class financial advisor in your market, because those are the advisors that are going to survive this tidal wave of AI and everything else coming at our industry in the next 5 years. A hungry advisor is willing to invest the 90 days that it takes to really focus on these three metrics to reorganize your business so that you are perfectly aligned with what clients want, and you're doing it in a way that AI will never be able to replace. And I'm going to keep saying that repeatedly because that's really the best defense, is creating a set of services that AI cannot do and will never be able to do. When I say humility, what do I mean by that? Humility, in my experience working with financial advisors for all these years, is you've got to be humble enough to acknowledge that whatever your current level of service is with your clients, it could be better. There's always room for improvement. Just to have the humility to admit we could do things, if we knew what clients want precisely, then we could improve things to be more in alignment with that. That's the humility that's required to make this transformation. And the Star Advisor has all three of these: head smarts, hunger, humility. It's a hat trick. A couple of more points here. Who is this 4-part video series not for? It boils down to, if you think that the things that have been working for you and your firm in the past are going to continue working in the future over the next 5 years or so, this video series is not for you. If you're thinking, my clients are thrilled with my work, there's no need to change anything, you just say, my clients are fine. If your year-over-year growth is extraordinary, substantially over 20% growth rate per year, then maybe this video series is not for you. If you're so in love with your process and you're wedded to the status quo, this video series is not going to be for you. If you just think AI is no big deal, this video series is probably not for you. And the other thing that I've done a whole series of videos on, and we don't talk about it a lot, but my feelings are that digital assets are going to change everything in the financial services industry. It's going to have as much or more of an impact than AI on our business, things like Bitcoin and tokenized equities and bonds and so forth. If you think that Bitcoin is just nerd money for computer geeks, or it's a scam, or it's a Ponzi scheme, or whatever your bias is against digital assets, I'm telling you, this series is not for you. But who is this for? So you're a financial advisor of some flavor. You serve the retail clients, individuals, and families. And as I said before, you mastered at least one of the areas of personal finance. You are skilled, and you're impressing clients in at least one of the 5 areas of personal finance: financial planning, investment management, tax planning, estate planning, or risk and safety or de-risking financial situations. Something around either insurance or risk management or something like that. This is for you if you realize, as I do, that AI is changing everything we do, and it's going to start accelerating here in the next 5 years at an extraordinary pace. On top of that, you're thinking, I'm stuck. I should be growing faster than I am. After all these years in the business, I should be making more money than I am right now. Even though you receive client referrals, you're receiving less than 10 client referrals per month, which means you're not getting enough referrals to move your revenue and your growth forward at a pace that increases the value of your business. On top of that, you may be considering, because this was my situation when I decided to make this transformation, that I really didn't have enough client references. So if you look at my clients and what I'm doing for them, it occurred to me that far less than 10% of my clients would ever serve as a reference to a potential client, none of them were saying that I was indispensable at the beginning. So I ask you, if you have 50 clients, 30 clients, 100 clients, do you have 10% of those clients that will say, my advisor is indispensable? There is no other financial advisor in this market who is as good and as thorough with attention to detail like my financial advisor. So if you're in that situation, this video series is for you. Above all, you have to have the resolve that you'd like to be the best financial advisor in your market, because this methodology that I teach will guaranteed to make you the #1 advisor in your market. Since I developed all of this back in the early 2000s, I am so confident that I will guarantee that after 90 days, you will have made this transformation. Your work product, the actual planning, the quantity and the quality of the advice that you're giving in a documented form, you will be undisputed the #1 financial advisor when it comes to what you're doing for clients after 90 days. I guarantee it. And I back it up. I will pay an advisor $9,600. If they'll invest 90 days, it ends up being 12 weekly checklists. You've got to do everything on the checklist, which means remaining focused, not forever, but for 12 weeks. That's 90 days. But if an advisor does that, then after that, you're not the #1 work product in your market, undisputed, where even other firms will admit that they are unwilling or unable to produce a level of quality of planning that you're producing, then I'll give you $9,600. Now, why am I willing to make that challenge, this contest? Why have I done this for so many years? I feel pretty safe that, #1, most advisors don't acknowledge that there's a problem. Most advisors will not admit that there's any disconnect between the quality of their work product and what the clients want. Most advisors don't even attempt to make an improvement. But those who do, those who take me up on this challenge, they either achieve the result or they're unwilling to stay focused for 90 days. I'll say it a different way. Every advisor that stays focused for 90 days achieves the outcome. They're on the road to becoming the star advisor, and I'll define that in a minute. But at the very least, after 90 days, first of all, your clients will confirm that your new level of service is extraordinary. Referrals will increase, and you'll have references. Every ideal client will now become a great reference for you, in that they will tell potential clients that you're indispensable, and the level of planning that you're producing is unavailable anywhere else from any other firm. Those references are worth a lot. So the bottom line is, I'm happy to guarantee it. Most advisors just don't believe change is coming, like AI, or they don't believe that there's a disconnect between what they're currently doing and what it should be that will assure they will survive this AI tidal wave. Most advisors just are not willing to invest 3 days a week for 90 days to get this done. And that's sad. The advisors that can make this work are looking for transformation. If you're watching this video series and you're thinking, yes, I need a transformation in my business, and I'm not just the type of person that I watch all these videos and I'm just interested in learning, then I would say let's dive into the 3 metrics. We're ready to get right into it. If you meet all these criteria that I've been talking about and you're concerned enough, or you're stuck enough at your current level that you are listening and learning how to transform your business to exceed clients' expectations in a way that AI is not going to be able to do it before it's too late, then let's get into the 3 metrics, because this video series is only for financial advisors who still want to be financial advisors 5 years from now, but at a much higher level, because those are the advisors who will survive. The 3 metrics are going to be your attempt to screen out all distractions for 90 days. I realize every advisor has a lot going on in the business, but I want you to think about Are you willing to invest 3 days a week for 90 days, focusing on these 3 things pretty much exclusively? I call it solid, sound, sustainable. Those are the 3 metrics. Solid has to do with client satisfaction. That the metric around client satisfaction is objective proof that you are providing services that are not available at any other firm in your market. Sound has to do with growth of new revenue. The objective metric in having a sound business, it means that you have an extraordinary pace of growth, meaning that if you look back 12 months, there's never a month where you did not have new revenue coming into the firm. And then finally, sustainable. This is the metric where over time, not perfection in 90 days, but the idea is transformation in 90 days so that now you've set a course for your business that it not only is going to provide ultra-high client satisfaction and monthly revenue growth, but it boils down to what's your business worth if you're not there to run it. And the answer to a sustainable business is it's fine. It keeps growing. After 90 days, what's possible is that you are now measuring increases in these 3 metrics. Where did I get these 3 metrics? This is mergers and acquisitions 101. To come up with these 3 metrics, I had to be a buyer of financial advisory businesses. So I'm a financial advisor. I have built this business the way I'm describing. And I'll tell you, when you're on the buying side of a business, like if you were someone looking at your business to buy it, what are you going to look at? These are the 3 key metrics. You want to make sure client satisfaction is extraordinarily high, business growth is consistent and exceptionally high, and if you take the owner out of the business, it just keeps growing. So these 3 metrics end up being the metrics that drive the multiple and the valuation of your business. When we get into the 3 videos on these metrics, I'm going to go through and show you hypothetical examples of how focusing on these 3 metrics can mean millions of dollars in additional value of your business. I'm working under the assumption that just like me, regardless of what you plan to ultimately do with your business, you want a business that's increasing in value every year. No matter what ends up happening to your business, if you don't care that the value of your business is increasing on an annual basis, then again, this video series is not going to be for you. Let me finish off this video by just saying, so what's possible? Why bother? Why focus on these 3 metrics? This is where I want to define the STAR advisor. You set a goal to achieve this thing that I've created called the STAR advisor status. What's possible is that you could become the STAR advisor in your market, in your town, wherever you are, you could become the STAR advisor. That's possible. What does that mean? In the area of client satisfaction, from a metric standpoint, what you measure is the annual client referral rate. We're going to go through a simple metric of how to track this, and we recommend that you track this number on a monthly basis, but what you're looking for is an increasing annual client referral rate that's equal to or greater than 1. All that means is if you've got 17 clients like I did when I started over, then an annual client referral rate average, the rate is 17 referrals per year. If you've got 35 clients, then you'd have 35 referrals per year or more. And if you have 50 clients, you're getting 50 referrals per year. We'll talk all about this. There are some things that we have to work through so you understand how this happens, but what's possible is numbers far greater than 1. I've been doing this for decades, and it is possible. What's possible will literally blow your mind, but it all comes back to the quality of your work product, undisputably the best in class in your market. If it is, the annual client referral rate will reflect that. And getting to a rate of 1 is not as hard as it sounds. So the second metric, business growth of new revenue. What's possible is after your 90-day transformation, you're on track to becoming the star advisor in your market. But when it comes to growth of new revenue, it's somewhere between 10% per month growth to 10% per quarter. And you heard me right. If your firm's growing 10% per month, that means you're more than doubling your revenue every year. That is definitely possible. And if you're growing 10% per quarter, you're growing at least 40% increase of revenue per year. Somewhere in that range. If you're in that range, then that's the metric that qualifies you to be the star advisor in your community. And then finally, sustainability. This means that you've implemented the documented process for this. You've hand-selected a skilled team that is actually delivering the service to your clients in a way that the first two metrics continue at that pace or increasing with or without you being present in the business. So if you were to take off for 6 months or a year, client satisfaction would continue to increase and growth rate of new revenue would continue to increase with or without you. If you focus on these three metrics, focus in 90 days to just make the transformation, get the quality of your work product perfectly aligned with what clients expect, and then you are now on a track to become the star advisor in your market. That is possible. And I can show you how you can move from that first 90 days and become the star advisor in your market in less than 12 months. It works out to be there's 4 little 90-day projects that you have to master in order to become the star advisor. But have you ever heard the cliche that you set these huge audacious goals, you shoot for the moon, because even if you miss the goal, what you actually achieve is extraordinary. So we have set up this goal for you to become a star advisor, to make the transformation in 90 days, and then to continue remaining focused so that you may or may not hit the goal of becoming a star advisor. The goal you do achieve will be at the extraordinary level. And why is that? Why is this possible to achieve all this in such short periods of time? I hate to admit it, but part of the assist for you is the fact that the service bar is currently so low. It's gotten worse over the last 25 years, but that's to your benefit. Never forget that even though clients say they love and they trust their advisor, 51% would fire them and hire a better one if they could find one. Never forget that. What you do is after 90 days, now you're showing up in the marketplace with 2 things that you didn't have 90 days before. You are now more competent demonstrably than any other advisor in your market, and you're more comprehensive. The 2 things that clients want most, they want more competence. They call it different things. I want the advisor to be more responsive, more proactive. I want them to coordinate everything. But the bottom line is, after 90 days and you've aligned your work with what clients want, you're more competent than other advisors are able and willing to be, and you're more comprehensive. The 2 things that would inspire a client to fire their advisor and hire you, if you could describe your process in a way that connects all the dots and allows them to think, this person's more competent and more comprehensive, and they'll fire their advisor on the spot, hire you. And that just takes 90 days to dial that in. I'll end this video and we'll go into the metrics starting in the next video, but go back to the 3 things that I said are required to make this transformation: head smarts, hunger, humility. I work primarily with top firms, top producers, and I love financial advisors. By and large, I am inspired by most financial advisors. Most advisors are in this business to help clients. I know clients don't actually believe that, but I've found this to be true. I love financial advisors, so it kills me to say that the top firms and the top producers in our industry, as much as I like them and really care about them, they are not smart. They don't see what's coming with AI. They dismiss it. They dismiss things like Bitcoin and anything that's actually going to change our industry in the next 5 years. Top firms just dismiss it. They're not hungry. They think they're fine. Their firms are growing. Their clients are happy. They're just not hungry to make this 90-day effort to make these improvements. And then humility, forget it. A lot of the top producers and top firms, they just aren't humble enough to admit that their work product could use some improvement. So don't let that bother you. As my friend Bill Backrack often says, you're running your own race. We're each running our own races. We're trying to achieve different results for different reasons. You focus on you. In the next 3 videos, I'm going to focus on these metrics in detail and show you how to build a business that is solid, sound, sustainable. So we'll see you in the next video.